Welcome to Fashion Reverie Talks. I'm Tiana Ibrahimovic.
And I'm Christopher Fraser, filling in for Cicely Daniels.
Fashion Reverie takes you from the front lines of fashion to the front row.
All of Fashion Reverie segments are based on published articles found on fashionreverie.com.
So remember, if you want more information on the segments, go to fashionreverie.com. And if you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button of this episode on YouTube.
In our first episode of the season, we're happy to have fashion designer Roberto Silva and the editor-in-chief William Gooch of Fashion Reverie talking about New York Fashion Week Spring 2026 season. But first, let's start with fashion news. And remember, all of our news segments are based on fashion news alerts found on fashionreverie.com. Tiana, it's so good to be back, so I'm going to let you start with our first fashion news alert.
Uh, Good to be back. Good to see you and our viewers. So we will start with a mix of fashion and economy. Let's put it that way. So a lot of brands internationally are concerned about President Trump's tariffs and the so-called tariff wars. So if you are an international brand from Europe, you are experiencing increased prices. And, it depends how you take it. Some are taking it as fun. So one of the brands that we're all pretty familiar with, because it's an old Swiss watch retailer, Swatch. We all had a Swatch at some point, I'm sure. So they are sort of having fun with the tariffs topic, and they're actually trying to make it work for themselves, at least for those that are in Europe. So if there is a 39% tariff tax on Switzerland, Swatch has created, the watch. What if tariffs? So the watch recently went on sale, and it's only available in Switzerland. So it retails for $175, and you need to go to Switzerland to purchase this Swatch watch. So it will only be sold for a short period of time, because as soon as the tariffs change, they will stop selling the watch. So that's via the spokesperson of Swatch.
And in more designer appointment news, which seems to be endless lately, Jaden Smith, actor and son of Will Smith, has a new fashion design job. He's going to be the menswear creative director for Christian Louboutin. Yeah, this has surprised a lot of people given that he has no formal design experience, and this is a very big role. But from what I understand, it's just the equivalent of him doing a couple capsule collections like many designer brands do with celebrities. But we'll see. He is very known for his own personal style when it comes to red carpet and being very out of the box with fashion. So maybe he does have something to bring to the brand.
Never know. I'm curious to see how that will look like. Now, we have, of course, all heard about passing of Armani, a very long-standing designer and a brand. And but of course, the fashion goes on. And Armani's last will and testament have been published. So it will request that the heirs to Armani's fashion empire sell control of the business to one of a trio of the biggest names in fashion and beauty. And Armani's they express that this company should be managed in an ethical manner with moral integrity and fairness, so that the pursuit, this is a quote, of an essential, modern, elegant, and unostentatious style is key, along with attention to innovation, excellence, quality, and product refinement. So, since he had no children, the multi-billion euro group is passed to the variety of heirs, and control of the business will be sold to luxury giant LVMH over a period of time, L'Oreal, and Luxottica. So, the first 18 months, the heirs will sell 15% of the business, followed by 30 to 50, close to 55%. So we will see, after a change like this, the brands always change style, change. So we'll see what will happen with Armani. That would be all in Fashion News Alert.
September also means Fashion Month, of course, and among the designers this season at New York Fashion Week was Roberto Silva, who we have joining us today on Fashion Referee Talks to talk about his latest collection. Roberto, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. So you just had your Spring/Summer 2026 collection debut during New York Fashion Week. How's
Yes.
it feel?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You just had your Spring/Summer
Yeah.
2026 collection debut during New York Fashion Week. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great. It feels really good. Actually, obviously you guys know all the work that we do before that, but when we get there, I was able to enjoy it, which is something that hardly happens, and I was able to interact with people and all the feedback left me very satisfied, not only the work that I did, but the interaction with the people, and what I heard from everybody, I was very happy. I am still very happy, actually.
So could you talk to us about your fashion journey?
Yes, it's been quite a long one. I started in '94, right after college. I mean, I actually started a little before that because when you go to college and you start interacting with all the people that at school, sort of like starts giving you energy to continue, to start doing more, to start researching, to start creating. And I also have people from, well, my sisters and friends of theirs have also design background. So it's been, started there. And then after that, after college, I had I was lucky enough to meet with a lot of creatives. We started doing and creating, we started doing stuff and creating our own spaces to showcase, to perform. Not only fashion designers, but there were DJs, graphic designers, artists in general. So we all got together, to start, from scratch. And from there started to grow, what I always say became some sort of like a um, club kid, streetwear, let's go to party, fashion line, to sort of like a minimalist, uh, focus on classic pieces, which is what it's about, now. But, after that, I continued working in Mexico and then I emigrated to the United States where I first had to, hold a job. And I was always working with clothing actually. I did visual merchandising, in-store display, window display. And then when I had the opportunity, I started working with a sustainable program, fashion program of Pratt. And then from there, I mean, it's always in you, every time when I was able to reconnect with a sewing machine, I started doing stuff, and it grew from, a line of 4 blouses that you can see there somewhere, the other right there, to now an entire fashion line. I mean, it's, a small one, but it's been
Mhm.
quite a long journey.
So could you describe your design aesthetic for us? How would you say, what would you say encapsulates your brand's DNA?
Well, I'm always inspired by form and function. Those are my main things. I truly believe in functionality, durability, and use of clothing. I totally respect people who gets inspired by something else, but to me, clothing that itself inspires me. And as I said, it first started, little bit out there, but now it's become much more of a minimalist, functional, very detail oriented, very a great focus on the construction of it, and I've been analyzing and studying all old and newer techniques of clothing construction. So I try to apply that because I know that that might help the actual garment to you know to perform its function, which is dressing us every day. But obviously, I like to add a bit of touch of humor. I'm very inspired by pop art, music, obviously videos because I grew up in the 80s, music videos, and art and culture in general. So little details of that you can see here and there.
So you're also Mexican American,
Well,
and
I'm sorry for interrupting. Born in Mexico, now, after living in New York for 20 plus years, probably I could consider myself Mexican American.
so how would you say you inject your Mexican heritage into your design aesthetic?
Well, I'm very inspired by handwork, you know, hand pleating, hand embroidery, even the use of, natural textiles and what you have around on hand to create something. And I can see in a way that sort of relates to the work of indigenous people and how they create their garments, their outfits, even if it's something that is very, very close to their culture, or even, now after colonization for like their everyday wear. Like for instance, the pleating that I used in this season is very inspired by all the outfits of this state called Oaxaca. And these ladies do the pleating by hand. They don't use chemicals, and perhaps they might use a an iron, but they gather by hand, they embroider by hand, they put the pieces together by hand. And that's what we try to do, because not only because I'm very inspired by that, I also feel like that's kind of like our little participation in sustainability, trying to recreate or enhance handwork. To me is very sustainable.
So, what were some of the other inspirations for your spring 2026 collection?
Well, as I said, I'm very inspired by pop culture, and I think that the trucker jacket, popularized by Levi's, it was something that I always loved. It is if you look at it, it's now it's a fashion piece, right? It's being reinterpreted by several designers, throughout at least for the past 30 years. But that also comes from that's working gear. Those are working clothes. That's where denim started, because it was durable, because it was resistant, and in a way accessible to everybody because it's cotton. But the twill weave is something that has always been very durable, and also gives the garment, its own shape without all the underpinnings and all that. So I have this little jacket that my mother bought for me, my first Levi's jacket, and it's a trucker jacket, right? That is actually being used by everybody after me, my nephews, my cousins. So that gave me the idea that I always wanted to reinterpret or continue reinterpreting um, a piece of pop culture adapted to, day wear or everyday wear or even night wear, right? So that's what we did this time. We sort of like work with that, with those cuts and the seams that actually can help you to create a very nice body shape, right? Or also you can hide the pockets, or all those seams were made to make the jacket, you know, more sturdy, make it more durable, more resistant. But now we use it as, fashion cuts to try to create a nice shape. Either it's hourglass or a very fitted or a very smooth over the body. So that's what I wanted to do. So with the draping of my own version of that jacket, we were able to get, what we call very nice, very pleasant and soft lines and pieces that, thanks to the feedback that all of you kindly gave me, it seems like it's working for, for a lot of the bodies that we tried it on.
So, going off the trucker jacket, there was a lot of denim in your collection this season. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I love denim, and also, as I said before, because it's durable, because of the weave is, resistant. It's cotton. It's something that you can actually, I mean, relate more because it's a natural fiber, right? And I love the indigo colors. I love neutral colors. I love blue. So I think like denim for me, which is something that is so, as I wouldn't say normal, but it's like something that we see every day, everywhere, and we use it all the time. I think it was kind of like a challenge to try to reinterpret that and come up with something exciting about our everyday pieces, which is something that, in a way, is sort of like what I would call my philosophy. I'm very inspired, as I said, for by everyday wear. So the trucker jacket and denim is something that we see every day. So it was kind of like a challenge, which I actually, came out very satisfied of.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Roberto, and it was a fabulous collection. I'm glad I got the
Thank you.
privilege of seeing it up
Thank you.
close.
No, I was very happy to see you and to meet all of you, which, we were, and Scott, obviously, we were very, very well connected by ideas and energy. So I mean, I couldn't, ask for a better audience.
Well, we were all so happy to be there, and
Thank
until
you.
next season, maybe even sooner.
Maybe even summer, we don't know. But until next season, and we already have some ideas. So little by little, I think that's the key, and enjoying it, which is something that I did very much this time. So hopefully we can continue with the energy and recreate that kind of a feeling, which is to me is what makes it worth it.
Well, we'll definitely be excited to see what you do next.
Thank you so much.
Happy to have our editor-in-chief, William Gooch, with us today for the first episode of the season. And we are talking about New York Fashion Week that just ended. William, welcome to Fashion Reverie Talks.
It's good to be back after Fashion Week, which, we always need a little rest after Fashion Week because it's so hectic, and particularly hectic with not us, Fashion Week not really having a central location. So it's nice that we had a little bit of rest and we can really dig in and talk about some great collections that we saw.
So, what is your overall thought of the New York Fashion Week for spring 2026 season?
Well, we did see some really great fashion, and we'll go into that a little bit later. So, the aesthetic of creating great spring, summer clothes, because, as we all know, what we see in September are collections that will debut in stores and campaigns will debut in the spring. So, Fashion Week for the fall, when we see it in September, we're really seeing spring fashion. So, we're kind of 6 months ahead. So for those industry professionals, it gives us a little peek into what the trends are going to be for the season, how designers are looking at satisfying their customers' fashion palettes. So it's very interesting to see where the industry is going. And there is a real directional shift that we see. But so that was wonderful. New York Men's Day, which it starts on the first day of Fashion Week, moved to the Mercedes-Benz venue, the car big showroom, and that's where they had their men's collections, which they show 4 in the morning and 4 in the evening. And it was interesting. I liked the old venue better because you're kind of situated between these luxury cars and showing menswear fashion, and it was kind of hard, particularly the first session, to tell the collections from the people in the audience, from the people at the show, which kind of a lot of them overdress. So it was like, what is the collection? What is the actual people? It was trying to kind of hard trying to figure out what was what. But overall, it was a decent season. I don't want to say it was a great season. Things still persist that the CFDA and the powers that be really need to work on. It's still way too much running all over the city, which gets to be very expensive because we really don't have a central location anymore. So that really needs to be figured out. Additionally, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, and I guess it's a little bit of sour grapes, but we're seeing fewer and fewer real fashion industry professionals at the shows. And the invasion of social media influencers, which now are the main group of people that go to the shows, that has really diminished the role of industry professionals. And it's just a little bit too much of them at the shows and not enough of us, fashion industry professionals. And unfortunately, a lot of times they stay around for 1 or 2 seasons and they're gone. So it's a revolving door of influencers. Um, but they have really eased out the industry professionals. And we still have a lot of importance in this industry. So the powers that be, the fashion PR firms, the CFDA, they really need to work on bringing the industry professionals back and just a central location. Um, so that's my assessment.
Now, did you have a favorite show?
Absolutely. Um, Cynthia Rowley, no doubt. And Tiana, we were there together. Were we sitting? No, we were kind of sitting together. We were
Yes.
sitting together. What am I talking about? You were
Yes.
sitting right next to me. What am I talking about? And it was so much fun. It was a great show. Little industry gossip, supposedly this is her last runway show. And I hope and pray it's not, because she always puts on a great show. She knows how to put on a show. This was her 101st show, and her daughter debuted her runway presence walking in the show, her daughter Kit. And the show was at Robert Wagner Park, which is a great, gorgeous outside park downtown Manhattan in Battery Place. And you could look into the Hudson River, and she had boats in the river with her logo on the sails. So it was just an incredible collection, a little bit of a nautical vibe in some of the pieces. But the thing about Cynthia Rowley that is so fabulous is she knows how to dress women of a variety of ages. So whether you are a late teen, or you are a what is it, Gen Z, X, Y, whatever it is now, or you are a woman of a certain age, there was something in that collection for every woman and for a lot of different body types as well. Just great looks that you can wear at every juncture of your day, from morning to going out to brunch or lunch with friends, to going to the opera, to going to a really fancy event. There was something in there for everybody. Nothing beats a designer that knows her audience. And Cynthia Rowley has been doing this long enough to really know her audience. And she did what so many designers sometimes fail to do. There was a lot of now, right now in the collection, and there was a little bit of next. So you have to give that little teaser to your consumer, letting them know this is coming next. Let me show it to you, and you decide if you want to embrace it. And that's what she did. Great show, great venue, just fun, fun, fun. We had the best time because, see, I was sitting next to you. We were laughing and talking and having so much fun. So, great show.
It
Number
was.
one, best show, Cynthia Rowley, for me.
It was very fun to attend. But now, besides New York, you did venture out to Baltimore too, and you went to see
Yes, yes.
Bishop Marty.
Well, thank you. One of our Fashion Reverie favorites, Bishmi Cromartie, who was the winner of Project Runway All Star Season 20, he was invited to show in his hometown of Baltimore, and his whole show was sponsored by Under Armour, which, they're based out of Baltimore. So I went down and took the Amtrak down. It was such a great ride. It didn't take as long as I thought it would. And he had a great show, great venue, doing what we love about Bishmi, mixing the masculine and feminine, the hard and the soft. There was a lot of neutral tones. But let me tell you what I loved most about this show. He had two plus size models, quite tall. One of them, I think, was 6'2". Larger models, plus size, probably sizes 14 or 16. And he knew how to put clothes on that beautiful, voluptuous, Zoptic frame to make those women, those models, and that can project to larger women who want to buy his clothes that are larger, that showed off their assets in a beautiful, sumptuous luxury way without looking cheap and tacky. He knows how to design for a woman of a larger frame. And they tore that runway up. They were absolutely the best models in the show were the plus size models. He had two. And it was just a great show, great separates, great cropped moto jackets, great crop top shirts, great asymmetrical skirts, just a great piece for that consumer that wants to be noticed. Sorry. It was just a wonderful show. So loved it, loved it, loved it. Bravo, bravo, bravo to Bishmead.
Okay, it was worth the trip, looks like.
It was worth the trip.
And could you talk about the whole New York City Spring 2026 collection? Tell us a
This
little
was
bit.
a very fun, joyful, thank God, joy. We need it in these times. Joyful menswear collection. Now, this was not their debut collection. They've showed it in New York Fashion Week a couple of times, and they've showed it in New York Men's Day, which is a part of New York Fashion Week. And it was a wonderful collection. And what the designer said was the creative director of the show, I can't remember his name, but he said he really wanted to make this a queer infused collection. Now, I didn't know that until I read the notes because, nowadays everything is so blended. I mean, what is what is queer infused? What is, you really, everything is all mixed together in the modern times that we live. You can't really pinpoint a particularly inspiration. But it was a wonderful collection, great pieces for men, a small collection, about 14 pieces, that dresses your guy or yourself at almost every juncture of your day. There was even swimwear in the collection. Just wonderful colors. There was a beautiful gold trench coat that was just to die for. And it was a wonderful, wonderful collection. The only drawback, and I'm going to have to say this, I probably will get myself in some trouble, there was a 4 flight walk up to get to that show. And, I'm of a certain age. So people were just passing me, walking up the stairs while I was huffing and puffing and leaning on the rails trying to get my breath to get to the show. I tell you, it was a challenge to walk up those 4 flights, I mean, long flights of stairs to get to the collection. But thank God when we got there, they gave us some champagne. I was like, okay, it was worth it. But it
Ah,
was a great show, a great show.
refreshment.
A little libation, some spirits can solve a whole lot of problems.
Absolutely. That's good. Something to wait for you on top.
At the
Um,
top, yes.
so, lastly, speaking of queer infused and mix of styles, it looks like one of the men's trends is skirts. Would you
Yes,
agree?
the man skirt is back. Now we know this trend goes back to the punk era of the late 70s and the early 80s where men really that came out of the whole um, anti-government punk revolution in London, and we were seeing men in kind of kilts, plaid skirts. There was a whole part of that movement, and then it keeps popping up every 5 or 6 years. The skirts come back. This time it was a little different because this is the first time, to my memory, I saw men's skirts as hip hop streetwear. So there were brands that typically focus on a streetwear vibe, a hip hop vibe, and they had men's skirts, particularly a new brand that I'm not that familiar with, but I was at their show called Public Serve C, SERV-CE. A wonderful, wonderful brand that really, really has centered in on what a lot of young people want to wear right now. Very, very street wear focused. And it was paired in a streetwear hip hop way. I haven't quite seen that a lot. I saw a lot of men's skirts in collections, particularly at New York Men's Day. Joseph McCrae had a couple in his collection. So it's on its way back, and there were consumers, people at the show, fashion industry professionals that had on man skirts. So it is on its way back, and it's not just gender bending or being influenced by the feminine. It has taken on a whole masculine patina, a whole masculine persona. And I love it. I love it. I mean, why not? You know, you can express your masculinity in a whole lot of different ways now. And we're in a world now where people do it and they're free to do it. Bravo.
Um, I would say maybe not for the straight woman, but okay. Um, I don't know how I would
Well,
react
maybe you need to
trying
see a little bit
skirt.
more, Tiana, and get used to it.
Huh?
Maybe you need to see it a little bit more and get used to
Maybe, yes. We do get used to a lot of things. So,
it.
but thank you. This was really fun talking to you about New York Fashion Week and all the latest trends and happenings. It is always good to have you, our editor-in-chief, Mr. William Gooch.
It's great seeing you at Cynthia Rowley, where we were chilling and hanging out because I hadn't seen you since the end of our last season because I know you were in Europe for most of the summer. So it was just great to see you and hang out with you as always. Such a fun person to hang out with everybody. Tiana.
Same, feeling the same.
Well, viewers, that's it for the first episode of season 7 of Fashion Reverie Talks. Tiana, I'm so glad I got to be back here with you today.
I am glad to be back with you, Christopher, as well. And I would also like to thank Roberto Silva and William Gooch for appearing on Fashion Reverie Talks.
For more information on these and other stories, go to fashionreverie.com. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you all soon.